please bow your head. Father God, thank you so much for this beautiful day, God, that you have given us. And God, thank you so much for the gift of eternal life, God. And throughout this season, God, that we can just stay focused on the true meaning and the true spirit of the season, God. And that's for you giving your Son to us on this earth, and to live a life, God, and to die for our sins, God, so we wouldn't have to live in eternal hell, God. And just, God, thank you so much for your love and your grace and your mercy. But I ask that you watch over us today as we conduct business for the county. And I ask that you watch over the folks in the audience, God, as they present to us, God, and then all of us as we leave and go out our ways, God. And just pray a special prayer for those fighting for us across the seas, God, and all of our troops and that are in harm's way. And God, please protect them. I pray all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Good prayer.
Attention.
Go ahead.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're good. You got the agenda. Commissioner Mays has a couple things he'd like to add under old business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, and I don't think this would take a vote, but on sections A and B, if it would be okay with the board to flip those to address, and I think it came in order of when they got submitted anyway, the traffic light request and then the animal shelter, flip those.
Anybody have any issue with that?
And then under old business, I know we could bring it up under old business, but formality, I'd like to add the radio interoperability discussion, and I'm ready to, when the time comes, ready to make a motion on that, sir.
Okay.
And I will defer actually to Commissioner Wells if he had.
Okay. Motion. We have a second to add the radio discussion to the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I add one more
Yes.
item to old business? If we could add the Scarborough 85 monument discussion, please.
Got a motion, got a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mays. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we'll put it right under the radio discussion. Okay. Robbie?
Yes, sir.
Cash and fund balance report, please.
Okay, cash and fund balance ending November 30th, 2023. Restricted funds, 1.5 million. Committed funds are at 1.2 million. Assigned funds, 3.7 million, and unassigned fund balance, 10.8 million, for a total fund balance of 17,453,386. Cash, 14,366,668. The school fund, committed funds, or fund balance, 8,568,414, and cash 8,411,032. Any questions on the fund balance report?
Are these audited final?
Yes.
Okay, these are
Yes.
the final
They're
audited
good.
numbers.
Robbie, what was our rollover? Do you?
1.3 million. It's, well, you know what? The rollover may be a little more. I compared it to last year at this time in November, and we're 1.3 million more.
Okay.
But there was probably a little more rollover than that. Last year at this time I did a move 20% to the committed, and next month I would like to bring that to budget committee in a formal budget amendment.
Great. Thank you.
And then I had a question on the EMS fund balance.
Yes.
It's at 604. I know we had discussions at the end of the budget, during the budget season, that there wasn't going to be a fund balance, and we rolled money over to, so if you can just enlighten the whole group, I think we all might have a question.
Exactly. In budget season, honestly, when me and Nathan were looking at the fund balance, and the revenues were a lot less than the expenditures, he just had a really good June with revenues. And honestly, we were both surprised, and we even waited for audit to come back to make sure we hadn't done any, there wasn't any mistakes or anything, but we weren't expecting that at all. And we weren't up here just saying that we weren't going to have a fund balance, because we truly expected it to be maybe 100,000 or, but not 600 at all.
And one follow-up question on that. As we're looking at this year, about halfway through, well, not quite halfway through, but our revenue's looking better than we thought. And cause I know when we kind of look at the budget, I know we're getting ready to run into budget. And sorry for the questions. That was one that I know we talked about during budget season too.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So the first few months of this year compared to the same time frame last fiscal year, we were collecting higher of those months. Now we're currently about the same or slightly under what we did this time last year. So it kind of it kind of fluctuates up and down. So right now we're looking good.
Yeah, and to answer that, I also had a bunch, I had answered that question and had written a response for the EMS, their fund balance for the, I think the strategic planning workshop, because I kind of knew that when this fund balance was presented, there was going to be some questions because we had said, and Shelley had even asked me in an email about it. So I can find that and bring it next month and explain it better. But it was really the last 2 months kind of rescued their with revenue collections, because I pulled each month individually and they were way down, especially when we start budget season. A lot can happen, you know, and plus we keep 2 more months open. July and August goes back to June as well, so collections were just a lot better.
I will add to that also on the expenditure side, like if you look specifically at some of our line items, you looked at like our medical supplies, we spent significantly last fiscal year than we did previous fiscal years. And a part of that was just us trying to not spend and be more to the threshold as where we don't really like to be, especially when you talk about medical supplies. So we did some of our part on that as well to try and keep that aspect down. Obviously, when we get into a new fiscal year, then we try to bring that stock back up. So we try to exercise that as well. When we knew we were getting to that point, what part can we do when we talk about spending? So that impacted it as well. So I can't sit here and say it was all revenue just bolstered up. Our expenses, we went under what we were comfortable with, but we did that because of what we were looking at financially.
That's a really good point too. 'Cause we talked about that a couple of times, Nathan. I said, well, y'all need to be really conservative because don't worry, we are. So I mean, they did watch their expenses very closely.
Roughly 400,000 is what came over, because we had about 200 in, if I remember right, about 200 when we were looking at it, and we thought that was going to lay. So 400 over revenue over expenses.
I don't think we had 200.
No.
Okay, was it?
If you look at our fund balance, I think for last year around this time it was 646.
Yeah, the fund balance was healthy last year. We just thought we were going to lose a lot of it based
because
on.
we were
thought-
showing.
Yes,
Okay.
we thought our revenue was not going to be in as strong, our expenditures and everything. So when they came in a little bit better than what we were projecting, and we were keeping our expenses down, we really didn't eat much into our fund balance.
And you have to consider too, we were looking at a unbalanced budget. I mean, with expenditures over revenues. So we needed either a healthy fund balance or to transfer funds into that, which we did. So.
Any additional questions on fund balance report, cash report? Okay, sales tax report?
Okay. The sales tax report is, let me find it. The sales tax report for October, 1.4% over for the county as a whole. Anderson County was quite a bit less than last October, 396, 9, 10, 18. But the sales tax is still continuing to be, this month was the worst increase, but it's still an increase from last year. So I think sales taxes continue to look good. And the next few months are usually better because of Christmas shopping and how that goes. So.
Any questions on the sales tax report? Okay. ARPA funds?
There's really no change in the ARPA funds from last time. I know Randy and John talked a lot today about moving, I guess, other eligibilities, some things into other eligibilities to revenue loss, and we're working on that. He even asked if we needed a motion to do that, but basically we've kind of made the decision where to put all these, if it's revenue loss or other eligibility, so I really don't think we do, unless you all do, but we will be I would say by next month we could probably have a lot of that completed as far as what we can move, or what we've paid for already, moving to other eligibilities. So.
And you'll update the report once
Yes.
it's done. You have a question?
Yeah.
Commissioner Smartridge?
Robbie, what part of that remaining allocation, 2,842,000 or so, what part of that is restricted? And what part can we use?
Right now, the other eligibilities is 1.7 million, which just has the higher restrictions. The revenue loss is 1,074,000, but we're hoping to get most of those other eligibilities to the revenue loss side, based on some of the laws have changed and they've lessened
And the
the restrictions.
restricted, the part that's, what is that restricted for? Is it all different things?
Not restricted, it really just means there are more rules and
Yeah.
to-dos and hoops that you have to jump through in order to use that money or to qualify to use that money. So that's the main difference.
Thank you.
Any additional questions on the funds? And then the grant inventory?
And that hasn't changed since last month either. I'm just going to start including these every month. The grants are exactly the same as this report is last month, so
Okay.
there's no change.
Any questions?
I'll try to point out when we do have a new additional grant or something. But.
On to the consent agenda.
All right. Consent agenda, there are 4 transfers not requiring full commission approval. Can take those as a group. Be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve as a group.
Second.
Got a motion second by Commissioner Bochamp, Commissioner Wells. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, 5 through 7 are appropriation and 2 transfers from the school department. Seeking approval as a group or individually.
Motion to approve as a group.
As a group. Motion approved as a group. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Vandergriff. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Likewise. Motion passes.
Okay, number 8 is appropriation from the highway department, $50,000 in machinery and equipment and $50,000 in maintenance and equipment repair from restricted for highway, $100,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Vandergriff. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Vandergriff, Commissioner Bochamp. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise.
Okay, 9 and 10 are from the county clerk. One is increasing revenue for postage, $4,000 for the Oak Ridge postage machine, and the other is data processing title fees of $8,500 and increasing 5 different codes here for office supplies, service contract, data processing supplies, and data processing equipment, $8,500.
Motion to approve as a group.
Motion approved by group. Commissioner Mays, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any questions or discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion passes.
Okay, 11 and 12 are from EMS. Nathan has provided quite a bit of explanation. They both are from fund balance. One is for $46,029.29 for leases at $26,029, and other supplies and materials for emergency equipment on the new vehicles. And the second one is for $65,943 for $20,000 of furniture, $40,000 for maintenance and repair of building, and other contracted services, $5,000. And he provided quite a few pictures that also are very helpful. And I made those. I didn't put them in color in your packet, but online on your email they were in color. So they're much more descriptive in color.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve both
As a group.
as a group.
Yeah. Commissioner Mays makes motion to approve as a group. We have a second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion or questions? Commissioner Vandergriff?
So, last month, this was taken off the agenda because there was some question about the lease process. So, has that been resolved? Is that?
No, not completely. So Robbie's department, purchasing, have been heavily involved with that, trying to figure out all the P's and Q's on the finance side, which obviously they know a whole lot better than I do. So we're in discussions about how all of those gets materialized, how all those gets with the state comptroller's office, how do we satisfy all of the requirements for a lease. So this really is the funding. It will come back in January to purchasing committee with the agreement. So this is kind of getting the funding in advance of that. And then January, we come back with the agreement and go through the purchasing committee. Then that part will also go to county commission for final approval.
Anything else, Randy? Commissioner Mays?
Robbie, with that explanation, will that money be transferred to his code prior to?
It will be. Just put the money in place. The lease agreement has to be approved by local government finance, the state comptroller's office. And this is the first one we've done. And so we are having a lot of questions. In fact, Scott Gibson's helping us with Cumberland Securities. We need to get a couple additional quotes, and we're not sure where this is. I mean, it could be a different vendor than what we have currently. So it's not on the purchasing agenda yet, but there's no reason not. I mean, it doesn't hurt to put the money in place. I mean, if something happens that doesn't work out, it obviously won't be spent. But
would it be appropriate to add to not exceed this amount, or would that even matter? I mean, if he's got to get a couple of quotes.
it could. Well, I would think the quotes would bring them down, if anything. So yeah, you could say that if you want, like.
That was just more for whatever you guys think.
I'd be fine with that. I don't have any issues with that at all.
I know this is like we're putting the cart before the horse, but Nathan's tried to bring this. We took it off budget agenda last month, and we had it on here thinking this was going to work again this month, and it hasn't. We still don't have all the answers we need. So I just said leave it on there because it doesn't hurt to put the funding in place.
Any other questions? Or I have a question on the Smart Dollar
Yes, sir.
program.
Yes.
Can you, and I guess I looked over the program, but can you just kind of tell me more about it and what made y'all want to go do it?
Absolutely. So, Smart Dollar is a Dave Ramsey program. Some of you might be a little bit more familiar with Financial Peace University, which is a Christian version of this. You'll see it in a lot of churches, and actually it's kind of the first thought I got. My church actually offered Financial Peace University to the entire congregation for free. So I kind of got the thought of, well, what would this look like if we could bring it to an organization? So I reached out to them, started talking to them months ago, said, hey, do you have a business model, a secular business model for what? And they said, yes, it's called Smart Dollar. So we met with them. Finance, I know Randy Walters sat in on a presentation. HR, Kim Jeffers Whitaker sat in on a presentation. Somebody from ACSO also sat in on it. Really started talking about what this program could offer for our employees. So the target is our full-time employees would get access to this Smart Dollar program where they have individual access and can do information to help them with their personal finances in regards to budgeting, in regards to retirement projections and snowballing their debt and getting their debt paid off, building an emergency fund, all these things. So it really kind of looks at what can we do for a retention piece. When we start thinking about how can we retain our staff, part of that is, everybody a lot of times will bring up, well, we just need to increase their pay. So I will tell you that all the while, yes, pay does play a part. I have found pay has not been the ultimate deciding factor for some of our staff. Now, ultimately, I was talking to a lady today. Child care costs almost $1,000 a month for her. She said one of her paychecks, literally one of her paychecks, goes to pay for child care. One of two a month goes to pay for child care. So, obviously, so pay will be a part of it. Pay will be a factor. For Anderson County EMS, historically speaking, Anderson County has not been the highest paying. We've also not been the lowest, but we've not been the highest paying. So the target here is what can we help provide our staff that can help them to learn how to better manage the finances they have so they don't have to leave for higher money, but that they can still live a quality lifestyle with what they make here and what they can do with the finances they get here. So we reached out, we started looking at this. This provides those resources, provides the resources anonymously. I don't have access to their personal information. Nobody in Anderson County government has access to their personal information. It goes to this company. Now, we do get an aggregate, much like we do with EAP, the Employees Assistance Program that we have for the county. HR does not get personal information in EAP. Somebody calls EAP for needing a crisis help. Nobody in Anderson County knows who called, why they called, and the details. But HR finds out how many people access the EAP program. Kim and HR reached out to our EAP organization, asked, do they have anything like this? They said they do not. So we looked at other resources. There are other areas that could help provide this. So ultimately for me was, hey, can we try this for a year? That's why I did the lowest level option, 1 year, because they do have a multi-year, which decreases it. But can we do this for 1 year for $6,000, see how much it's used, and if it's of benefit, bring that back to you all and say, look, 20% of my staff used this, 20% of my staff, here's the results I got. We would like to do a multi-year because it shows benefit. It shows a retention piece. If an employee leaves, they lose access to this unless they want to pay for it themselves. And so when a new employee comes in, they get access to this. So it's we're not paying that they get, so we can let the company know, here's all the employees that work for us. If somebody leaves, we can let them know. They manage that. Again, we don't know if they're accessing it or not. So really the focus was, what can we do as a retention piece for our staff if we can make their work-life balance better, personal finance management better, that would draw them to stay here.
Nathan, how did we arrive at this particular program as opposed to some other service, some other program?
Well, honestly, with HR looking, but the county already has, and not finding anything there, when I looked into this organization and reached out and talked with them, I didn't really do a Google search for that, but when I saw what they provided, the free training, the one-on-one coaching sessions, the resources that they have, and I had some of my staff take a look at it, and so I got feedback from multiple people saying that they believe this format would work well for our organization. So I did not do an exhaustive search, if that's what you're referencing. I looked at something that's been tested, that's been used by other businesses, that's been around for some time, and has shown to be effective.
Y'all have anything? Shelley, go ahead.
So Robbie, this is just a question for you, and you've already answered this, but I just want to clarify. So during the budget process, we gave additional funds out of the opioid fund, and also the general fund to balance the budget, correct?
No, opioid and ARPA.
Oh, ARPA, sorry, opioid and ARPA. So it came out of those funds to balance this budget, so that is the reason that there is a fund balance. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the opioid funds being part of this fund balance, and we're using that to pay for leases.
Now, to correct you, the opioid funds and the ARPA funds were used to balance his budget. They're not the reason he has a fund balance.
Okay. Okay.
No. When we did the trade, so the opioid funds are receipted into general fund, but they really can be used. EMS was a proper place to use opioid funds based on things that have happened, and that was past remediation, and it's a proper use of those funds. That would have been a transfer into the EMS fund to their budget line item instead of. This is not not transferred into fund balance.
Gotcha.
Opioid was also the new Claxton.
Yes.
That's why it was opioid to respond to new personnel.
Yeah, just really quick, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to applaud you because thinking of things outside of the box, and because you're right, money's not everything. We built a lot of apps like for wellness and law enforcement, and surprisingly, you would think mental health, stress, and all of those things would be the #1 features that are used in these apps. But right now, across the country, of all of our clients, by far being used the most is financial wellness. And that's a feature that we have, and it's hitting on the right thing because it is universally causing the most stress, I think, not just in law enforcement or public safety, but just across the country. But I think this is a phenomenal way to spend money. And if you can somehow get in the patch business like Kenny Sharp, that's another way to make a little bit of money too. But
I will say that.
Good job, Nathan.
HR has looked at this as possible, bringing it back during the budget season to do it countywide. So part of that is she can get the information and the aggregate information for our organization to see what the benefit is to try and bring this to all county employees.
And that would be my question, because it's a 12-month period, but we're kind of doing it in the middle of the year, the budget year. Will you put that in your budget for next year, or will you kind of come back if it works and come back and do kind of out of the fund balance again?
So we're doing a 12-month, so
Yeah.
if we start in January, we'll be ending in January of next year. That would be, yes, we would try to put that in our budget. Honestly, if it's something we're going to stick with, I'd like the multi-year,
Yeah.
which was 3 years, and it was less than what you would be talking about annually. So you do have a cost savings there. So part of that is, I guess, the tough part is, honestly, our budgets will be submitted in about a month and a half. So this program probably won't even be started by the time we turn in a budget to you all. That doesn't even start for 5.5 months after that. So that part is a little tough.
And when would this go live?
So if it gets approved by commission, we would try to
January.
target by the end of January.
Okay.
So another thing they do offer to the employees is free federal tax filing. So that's a part of this program as well.
Pretty cool.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carries.
Okay. Number 13 is an appropriation for finance. I discovered when I was checking fund balance with audit that I'd made a few mistakes in the motor pool budget. And this is correcting that budget, this move, and also adding $5,000 to $5,139 to fund balance. So just
Motion to approve.
Need a motion to make.
Motion approved. Commissioner Mays. We have a second. Second, Commissioner Wells. Any questions or discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carries.
14 and 15 are both from the mayor's office. $7,500 other contracted services from unassigned fund balance, and $15,000 for zoning. I forgot what ZRNM means. It's for zoning when they have to go clean up property, the zoning violations, and we have to use that money to clean those properties. So both from unassigned fund balance.
Motion to approve is approved.
Motion
Second.
approved is approved. Second, Commissioner Mays. Any questions or discussion? I have one question. On when we put a lien on the property and we get it back
Yes,
and we sell or demolish whatever, does that go back in the fund balance?
that does.
Okay.
Yes, sometimes that's 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
because I even
absolutely.
asked about increasing revenue. The mayor made the point it's not always the same fiscal year, so,
Okay.
and rarely is.
Any additional questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carries.
Okay, under section A is now the City of Clinton traffic light funding, asked to be placed on the agenda by Chairman Foster, so.
Yes, so this got brought up at the last budget meeting and then brought up at commission. I brought it back through budget to have some more discussion. Mayor Scott Burton's here, and he would just like to speak, if he still would, just kind of on some of the partnerships, and then we can go from there.
Good afternoon. Hope I can read my writing. Some people ask me, believe it or not, I've been mayor for 14 years now, just about to end my 14th year. And people ask me what I'm most proud of, and there's several things I feel like we've accomplished in the city, including our city manager. But the thing I'm most proud of, one of the biggest things I'm most proud of, is the relationships we have with our other entities. Now, some of y'all may be too young to remember or didn't care back in the day, but before Terry came as county mayor and before Roger came as city manager, relationship was terrible with county, and we had relationship problems with the education in both county and city just wasn't good. And that was one of my goals. I think the county's goal is to improve that relationship. And I think looking back for over 14 years, we've certainly done that. And I want that to continue. A couple of things I want to bring everybody up to speed, make sure everybody's on the same page. You know, the area that we're talking about is very different from any other place in the county. You know, I kind of relate Charles Severs out to the interstate for the Oak Ridge brothers and sisters here. That's kind of like your all's Illinois Avenue. But the right side of the city for us, and the left side is a lot of county. And if you all had that in Oak Ridge, then you would have these type of partnerships. You have to make sense. You know, back in the late 80s when they annexed this, I think it was David Bowling and Bone Severs when they were here, it's called a finger annexation. So we pretty much, it's a state road in the middle. You've got, on both sides, you've got the 8 foot, you know, what's the word, the 8 feet on both sides is the city of Clinton. Then you've got Sevier County. So that's really the big difference. It's not Clinton traffic light, because it's not really in the city of Clinton. It happened about 3 or 4 years ago before COVID. I know Josh and back then Denver County Commissioners approached Roger Houck and said, hey, I'm getting a lot of calls, and Steve Emmert and before, they're getting a lot of calls from people in Hunter's Trail that it's a very dangerous place. And Josh, and I'm not saying anything Josh wouldn't say, I don't think, but Josh said, hey, I'll support this, we'll get it through, a good partnership. And I know during that time too, during the commission meeting, I don't know if it was a vote or not, that was said, yeah, we'll support that, it's a good program, it helps both people, both sides of the road, so to speak. But that was before COVID, and you know, getting this traffic light has taken several years, and we're about to get that one up and going. So, but again, this just goes along with, we had the understanding back then, voted or not, that we had that commission's support on moving forward with this traffic light. Speaking of partnership, I just want to kind of review some of the things that we've done over the last 14 years. A lot of things have been before the county, the current council's time too. And what the city of Clinton has done for the county, and what the county has done for us too. So it's just kind of a highlight to bring some of the newer people up to speed. The city's provided athletic facilities at a subsidized cost for several years to Clinton High School, including baseball, softball, football, tennis, and swimming. These are facilities. Again, something very unique. The other high schools here in the county, they have their own facilities. Clinton Middle School, baseball, softball, football, and swimming. In Anderson County High School, we provide tennis and swimming facilities. Even though the contract has changed for football and baseball, we are currently providing the other sports for $1 per year. The Clinton Fire Department provides first responder service for medical and fire to both the Anderson County Detention Center, which is the jail, and the Anderson County High School under a local intergovernment agreement at no cost. We have had over 60 plus calls for service in the last year. And y'all may want to speak to the importance of that too, if y'all so choose. We partner with the county government in the relocation of Glen Alpine by paying the county $70,350 and taking the remaining funding and assisting with the ADA upgrades to the single entrance project at the courthouse at a cost of about $8,000. 4 years ago, the county leased a piece of property at a cost of $20, 4.56 acres of land in the Carden Farm Industrial Park for the use of the county animal shelter. Now, Mayor Frank has requested that due to the requirements of the FDA funding agreement that totals $5.9 million, the city needs to deed over the land to the county or they lose the funding. The city is providing land in the I-75 Industrial Park for a joint Anderson County Emergency Operations Center, which will also be Clinton Fire Station number 3 in the short future. The city provided the old National Guard Armory building to the Anderson County Board of Education at no cost for over 20 years for the alternative school. Again, that's at no cost. And these are just a few of the examples of a good working relationship that we've enjoyed over the years. I think we've both have flourished. We both have done very well over this last decade and a half. So, in closing, I had a couple more too. I'm sorry, I got to have three more. We've talked to Mr. Parrott about renovation of the football field, which we'd be very open to like we have in the past. It's very much needed at Clinton High School. Partnered with Paving Industrial Parks, I-75 and J.D. Yarnell. I think the J.D. Yarnell is more of an agreement from our founding fathers to keep that paved. And I think I-75 was agreement when SL expanded and we gave them 65 acres and the county partnered with helping us pave that at that time, which was a good partnership. Traffic signals, the two traffic signals, the total cost is originally $400,000. Of course, 3 years later, now they're $480,000. But again, we're still asking for the $200,000 to help us defer that cost. In those two areas, over the last year, there's been 20 accidents, and probably about 100 close to being a bad accident. So, I come to you. I'm very proud. I'd love to keep our relationship. I think it's beneficial for both of us, and I think we've both grown from this. I mean, we're both, look at us 15 years ago. We probably had $300,000 in our fund balance, and y'all probably didn't have much more than that. You might have had $1 million. But we've both done very well. But that has nothing to do with partnership. Partnership is through good times and through the bad times, and I hope we continue to have that partnership. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
I don't have any questions for the mayor, although I will say I do want to thank him for coming, and if nobody else has questions, I was just going to make a. I do too.
Well, I got a question.
She got a question. I'll let her ask a question. I'll come back to you, Commissioner Hayes.
All right, thank you.
So thank you, Mayor. We appreciate you coming. Of course, the big question that I get every single day, multiple times a day, telephone calls, Facebook messages, is when will the traffic light be operational at Hunter's Trail?
Yeah.
And what are we waiting on?
Too. Well, now from my understanding is that we could do the one on Hillville first, because that's not part of a state road, and there's kind of a synchronization on Charles Severs. But the biggest problem, the biggest delay, the guts of that computer that we've been waiting for, and again, this is from what I've been told, is come from another country, and I think Ukraine was one of the major manufacturers of that. So that's been the delay. But we are very close to starting that up. He'll be blinking yellow, I think, from the synchronization start standpoint for a while. Then it'll go back to sync with other lines. And I know I've heard since the tidal wave car wash came in, it's much worse.
It is.
Yeah.
It is much worse. I travel through there daily, so it is much worse.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Mays, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I think Mayor Burton's right. I think for some of us who were nerds growing up around politics, we can remember the days of the lawsuits, the fighting, the constant back and forth between the city and the county. It felt uncomfortable just to drive through in between there. I think one thing he did leave out is some of the things that we do as a county for the city. And I, for one, am extremely appreciative of the work and the things that the city of Clinton does. And they do a great job. It's a great city. And some of the things also that we, just to add to what the mayor said, is, we paid for a senior center to go into the city limits of Clinton, and have spent a lot of money in the remodeling of that senior center. Most of the citizens that go through there are city of Clinton residents. I think that's wonderful, and I am so glad that the commission before us did that, and I'm so glad that we as a commission had the ability to improve that facility. The library, I mean, I don't even want to get to really talk much about the library, as we've talked a lot about it, but the building that sits in the city limits of Clinton, that serves the city of Clinton, we pay the lion's share of that, which is, again, phenomenal. We only have a county jail. Some have city jails, but we as a county, Clinton sent over 400 people to our jail just this year alone, which is, again, a partnership that we have. But we, the county, pays for the medical, pays for the food, pays for the lodging. The paving, which we all voted to do, it was almost double than what the initial thought was. But this body partnered with the city of Clinton and paid for that. Again, when we got the money for the water, Anderson County Water Authority wanted every bit of that money. And I think the mayor could probably attest. I know I have gotten it. Anderson County Water Authority they thought that that should go to them, but we as a body elected to give it to our partners, City of Clinton, Oak Ridge, almost $300,000 apiece. Not to mention the other things that the city does for us, backup for the ACSO, vice versa. The MOU that we have for them responding to county facilities inside the city limits of Clinton, it is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that. But also when I think about the property that we're talking about, and we're talking about that red light, and I understand the residents of Hunter's Trail, but guys, that traffic did not increase because of the residents of Hunter Trail. That traffic increased because of development inside the city limits of Clinton, which is needed and it's great. When that development came about, when Black Horse did the development, this county in 2019 approved a $1.25 million TIF. And if you look at the language of that TIF, it specifically states who's responsible for what. And one of those responsibilities talks about the traffic and the road conditions and any traffic changes. That falls to the development board and to the developer. Black and white is what it says. And I just can't support this request because I do feel like that we share a great partnership with the city of Clinton. And I don't think that should, us voting no or yes, or however we vote on this motion that's, I assume, coming or that we have already voted on, shouldn't change that. It shouldn't change it at all. As you know, in our strategic planning workshop, we had a lot of stuff that we talked about that we needed to do as a county. And as much as I hate what the county residents in Hunter's Trail is going through, and when we just heard it, the adding of a new retail establishment in the city of Clinton has increased the traffic. That's part of doing the business. That's part of development and growth up through there. And I appreciate the city already paying for the red light, and I don't fault them from asking. But I do think it's important that we hear the whole partnership that we enjoy with the city of Clinton and the other municipalities. And it's no disrespect to the city of Clinton, but I just can't support that traffic light at this time, Mr. Chairman, and I'll leave it at that. But.
Can I just say a couple words on that? You know, one thing and I respect what you're saying, Tyler, but I think, sometimes people forget, you're talking about, the senior center, who built that, and the library and things like that. We pay county taxes too. And our county taxes go to pay that senior center. Our county taxes went to fund the library, which, by the way, the library, the building is ours. And we do pay some additional costs to that. So I think that's a true partner. I keep on hitting this thing, I'm sorry, but that's a true partnership. Now, you're talking about the businesses that we have down on Charles Severs. That is great for us. But the county benefits too, not necessarily the you all, but this guy here in the front row likes seeing that because it helps educate all of our kids. So just keep in mind, that's a lot of things that y'all are talking about so far is we do pay county taxes, I promise you. Now, no, the county doesn't pay city taxes, and that's where I think my point of view is a little differentiated than the other.
Commissioner Beauchamp.
Okay, so I listened to your city council meeting. I was not happy about that because that's not how partnerships work. Partnerships, one thing I hate throughout my life is if I ask somebody to do something And then a year or two later, they come back and throw it up in my face because they didn't get what they wanted later out of it, or what, well, I did this for you. I absolutely hate that. That will get me tore up faster than anything. Tired of hearing the new commission. I may be newly elected, but I'm not new to this. You know that, I know that, and I know what I'm doing. For me, I'm not young enough to know that that entire strip was annexed, and it was done for a reason. We all know it. And they didn't want the things on the left, and they didn't want the things on the right. They wanted the strip. And unfortunately, the red light's in the strip. Or we could do a little bit more. If it was in the county, we would pay for it. So, you know, for me, I didn't want to pay for the paving, but I voted. I said, okay, I'm going to be a good partnership. But then that wasn't good enough. I don't appreciate what your city council people said. Holding us hostage over a piece of land is not a good partnership. So I hope from this meeting you will go back over there and you will talk to your city council members, just as I would hope Mayor Terry Frank would talk to us if she thought we were out of line and said something in a negative way. I think she would come and say, look, we got a good partnership. Let's calm it down. I would hope that she would do that with us. I hope you do the same thing. I hope you will be respectful and go back over there and say, we're not going to start this war. But at the same time, don't ask us to pay for a $200,000 lot when the county's on one side and the county's on the left, and I didn't ask for it to be stripped out. That was something that was done way before me.
Well, I think we're making some assumptions about that because I have no idea what conversations are
Chairman,
happening.
Well, we all know the strip was annexed out, and I know when it was annexed
Yeah.
out. So for me, I'm not trying to start a war with the city of Clinton. I think that we've all kind of been and given a little bit. You all have money. You all got ARP funds. That's just the way it is. I explained to you, we've got other county needs. Our equipment is bad. We've got things that we got to do. Getting your feelings hurt and getting mad over $200,000 traffic light is not a good partnership. So for me, this is the way I look at it. The state recognizes the counties as the political subdivisions across the state of Tennessee. The cities have petitioned the state to become city municipalities. If at any time that the city of Clinton does not want to uphold, or they're in a financial burden with these things, because that's what it seems to be, then we can petition the state and maybe you can turn everything back over to the county. But we're not going to start a war over a $200,000 traffic light, and we're going to be respectful of the partnerships, because that was not fair and that was not right, because a lot of us that did not want to do the paving did the paving. We gave in and we said, okay, we're going to help our partner across the street. But to hear what your city council member said and to hear what you said, that was very disappointing. That's not how partnerships work.
I believe, can I speak now? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
done.
is there, I mean, I believe this is going to be an action item. Can we?
I mean, that's up to the board.
I mean, we
It's
could
on
sit
the
here
agenda.
and talk all night about, and I know I talked, but I think that everything's out there. This is not news. Can we at least get a motion on the floor and discuss this and either put it to bed or keep discussing it or whatever? But I think it would be more appropriate if we could go ahead and get a motion and
I'll make that motion.
Well, can I make just one point? And I'll sit down.
Real
Okay.
quick, and then I'll
All
come
right.
back to you. Got a motion to,
I'll make the motion to fund the traffic,
got a
the
motion to
percentage
fund
of the,
it.
or
We have a second
partial
by
traffic
Commissioner
light.
White. Any discussion from the board or questions, and I'll come back to you. I just want to make sure
Sure.
there's no
Yeah.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Aldridge, and I'll come back.
I just want to say I appreciate you coming, Mayor, and I think I agree with everything that's been said about the relationship between the county and municipalities. Clinton, I hope we can continue that good relationship, and that this difference of opinion doesn't morph into something where we have a lot of friction and we're not working together. I think we're at the point where we need to say, well, maybe we just have a difference of opinion on this, and maybe it's time to move on and have the vote and hopefully go on to some other things we need to deal with. But I do appreciate you coming.
Well, first of all, and say
Yeah,
where I go.
any other discussion? I'll come back and let you finish, and then.
I can't control the speech of the council. Now, I think what I had said really, and I'd like to know, when I leave tonight is, do we have a partnership? Are we still going to be partners? You know, the two biggest things y'all, well, really the biggest things y'all have done in the past, and I respectfully disagree with what Tyler was saying because we do pay county taxes, is the partnership with paving the industrial park. I mean, over 20 years, we've done very well, both the county and and the city. I think y'all earned over $50 million, and we were 20-something million. Just a, you know, it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So, and that's the only thing we've asked you to do. And you know, it's frustrating. I'm just being honest. It's frustrating that we feel like, and I can't say we, I feel like we do these things because we want to partner. And so when we do ask, sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get you all to help us and partner with us. And that's just my opinion, not to be confrontational. But I'd really like to see, I think this is a good way to build our partnership back up to support this. And I'll be quiet now.
Mr. Chairman, oh, go ahead, Aaron.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to know, does Mayor Burton intend to say that if we don't support giving them $200,000 that they're going to consider the partnership with the county null and void? And if so, why do they feel justified in doing that, knowing we just gave them $500,000 to pave city roads? So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah,
Well, again, my impression on that, you didn't give us the money. You gave us for the partnership. Y'all got so many rules. Yeah, it was the partnership to do this, to secure our investment. You didn't give us. I mean, this was something that our forefathers came up with, and we've honored it ever since.
Mr. Chairman, my question was not answered. Does Mayor Burton intend to say that the county partnership with the city of Clinton will be null and void if we do not fund their additional $200,000 request?
I think it'd be fractured. And again, I can't speak for the council.
Yeah, and I respect that. I mean, I respect every decision. I think that it's very short-sighted and somewhat petty. But I will say, you're right, you do pay county taxes. But the other part is too, I mean, think about the city of Oak Ridge. City of Oak Ridge pays county taxes. They also have a K-12 school where their kids go. In Anderson County, past 6th grade, they go to a county school. The county foots the bill there. So again, I just think that I think that what we're projecting here, no one needs to sell the city short of what they offer the county. But by God, the city doesn't need to sell us short either on what we offer. And for anybody to say that we do not provide any type of partnership or to the level of partnership that they have, then I think it's just completely inappropriate. I think it's unfortunate. And I really hate to think that, I mean, we have a good relationship with Dr. Parrott in the schools. We have absolutely told Dr. Parrott no before. But that's never stopped Dr. Parrott from walking up here and asking us for more or for additional things. I just can't imagine that a $200,000 traffic light that was laid out in a TIF that this county approved $1.25 million for is going to fracture the 14 years of hard work that Mayor Burton has put together to try to build this relationship with the city and county. If that's the case, then that relationship was an inch deep and a mile wide.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the vote unless, Josh, if you have something, you come speak. And then we'll just go, I'll let Josh speak and then we'll take a vote.
I think we're getting beside the point on trying to keep score of, does the city help the county more? Does the county help the city more? I'm getting the same phone calls that Commissioner Vandergriff gets. We represent Hunters Trail, which are county residents. I've probably had 150 calls from there over the years specifically asking for a traffic light. That's an established neighborhood. They pay property taxes. They don't see a lot. I think most taxpayers don't think they see enough for what they pay in property taxes. The sheriff's department does patrol, and there's some deputies that live there, but for the most part, they don't really see anything. The traffic light is something that they could see for their money. And I know we've got other priorities, but I think for $200,000, we could make a lot of people in Hunters Trail happy, and we could kind of keep the same precedent with the city going that we've had for 10 or 15 years now. Thanks.
before we vote, I just want a clarification.
Okay.
I mean, Commissioner Anderson, the way he just described that, is that the traffic light has not been paid for, and that if we don't fund this, it's not gonna be on. Is that correct?
Is that, are you asking that? to
Someone
Josh?
who
That's
has the
fine.
answer can answer that. I don't really care.
That's not that wasn't the point I was making. The point's just I think it's if it's paid for, it's gonna go, but I think that
Okay.
The county taxpayers in Hunter's Trail, the ones I've talked to, they are okay with county tax dollars cost sharing on it, retroactively or otherwise. So I think it's worth doing to, not to, I'm not saying do it because Clinton's trying to hold us hostage. I'm saying do it because Hunter's Trail's asked for it for a decade now or more.
And I'm gonna let Commissioner Baker have the last word, because she's making the motion.
So I agree with Josh. We get this call honestly daily from people who travel through that area, and specifically from people who live in Hunter's Trail subdivision, and they are county residents and they do pay county taxes, and so I think they are very willing to have their money that they pay in property taxes spent on something like this. And again, I kind of urge you also to, don't think about it as Clinton holding us hostage. Think about it as a group of people in our county who honestly they don't have trash service. They don't have there's a lot of things they don't have. Now there's a lot of things they do have. The sheriff's office definitely have amazing deputies that live in that community. But again, I would wish you'd consider supporting that. But if you don't.
The motion on the table is to fund the $200,000 request from the city of Clinton. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed likewise?
No.
Motion fails.
We have to write this.
We just do a roll call vote, Mr. Chair.
Well, all in favor say, raise your right hand. All opposed? You got those? Motion fails. Is it okay? You want me to do it by roll call?
No,
Or is that good? Okay. Next item of business is the Animal Shelter property by Mayor Frank.
It just takes a while to bend that leg. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in 2019, in a partnership with the City of Clinton, I went to City Council and asked about leasing property that is owned and held by the City of Clinton, and it has excellent infrastructure to be able to be the site and location of an animal shelter. And the city was very gracious and entered into a lease with us. It's a 20-year low-cost lease with 20-year renewal, so 40 years for $40. And we embarked on that partnership. It was effective November of 2019. And we have walked through a very, very long process with USDA on a USDA community facilities loan. That particular loan involved a lot of work on the property in terms of archaeological surveys, environmental, making sure we meet environmental compliance, a lot of things that are necessary for any kind of partnership with the federal government. As we were awarded that USDA grant, and it was our understanding through Kirk Morris, who is our representative with USDA, that we would have to modify that lease to be 40 years from closing or post-construction, so that there was assurance that on that 40-year term that we would hold that lease for 40 years. Well, when we went to modify that lease, Jay started working on that with Kirk. What happened is when we sent that modification, his chiefs or higher ups with council said, we can't do that. We actually have to own the land. So that was just a real gut punch. And so I submitted a letter to the City of Clinton to see if they would be willing to either give us that land, or my motion to you is based on a similar, this property is in an industrial park, and they had a similar sale that was $15,000 an acre. So what I'm proposing is that if you would authorize those funds and authorize me to try to go approach the city about the sale of that land so that we could own it, and it would be in Anderson County's ownership, so that we could proceed with that USDA loan. So that's what I'm requesting here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the mayor can reach out to the city of Clinton for an agreement to purchase the land for up to $70,000.
You got a second? Commissioner Bochamp with the first, or with the motion, Commissioner Smallridge with the second. Any questions or discussion?
Well, I have a quick question.
Commissioner Mays?
Mayor, if the city, or if the body votes it down, or if the city doesn't want to sell, what is the next, what is the?
I would have to start over, because your application is based on the property. You have to meet all of the requirements there, and that is part of your, we have a lot that we have already done in terms of the shelter itself and the concept design and the square footage, but I would have to start over in terms of the land, so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bochamp?
And I had listened, I said earlier, to the city council meeting, and they were talking about how much the land was, and they said that they had sold it for $15,000 an acre. So if it's 4.5, 70,000 comes up to exactly close to around that.
Yep.
So I think it's a better option for us to go ahead and purchase this outright. The mayor's done way too much work on this. It's been a lot of years talking about this animal shelter, which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and say it, it's going to benefit the city of Clinton tremendously. But we'll see what happens moving forward. But for us, I would just rather go ahead and purchase it outright and not have that dangling over our heads, and just buy it outright and deed it out.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion to let the mayor approach the city of Clinton for up to $70,000 to purchase the land?
What code are we?
That would be Robbie.
Robbie.
Or Mayor, did you have a code you were?
We do have a land restricted for land purchase code that we talked about. The mayor talked about using as a possibility for this.
Does that need to be in the motion?
That can be fine to me. Add that to the motion. Yes.
Add it, Robbie.
You're good.
Okay.
Are you okay with that on the change that to the motion? The code? Okay. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Does that have to go to the full commission to make that? This is just a referral to a full commission to do that, correct? Okay. Next item of business is on old business. You have any new business? On old business, we have the radio discussion.
Yeah, thank you,
Commissioner
Mr.
Mays?
Chairman. This has been something that's been discussed for quite some time. We had a joint workshop on Monday at the community center where David Perkey came and spoke to members of commission and to a lot of people from fire agencies, EMA, what have you. And what it's basically, just to sum it up, is our county currently is in great need of a countywide radio interoperability. I think the work that they did up with the brush fires and all of that was really tremendous if you consider the fact that our radio system is not where it needs to be. That's just a testament to the people that we have. But with us being booked in by DOE, Norris Dam, and everything in between, and just the activity that they see on a daily basis, I think this is something that has been long overdue. And I know that Mr. Kidwell has secured some quotes for this project. And this is, to me, when we met as a group in our strategic workshop, it was a resounding #1 in terms of top priority for this county. And so with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we set aside an amount not to exceed $1.25 million to fund the radio communication system needed for all of the agencies in our county to be able to communicate. And I like to add too that Bryce and Justin mentioned at the meeting is another big piece of this were towers to give the county a lot of coverage. Well, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, the state's picking up the tab on that, which is a substantial amount of money. So there's no better time to do this than now. And so I would just encourage you all to support this. And also I would like to maybe defer just a couple of minutes to Commissioner Beauchamp as she represents Fire Commission and just kind of, explain kind of what they've talked about too.
All right, so we got a motion to
I'll second.
approve. You got a second. And the question I have before we'll
Go
defer
ahead.
to you is, do you have a fund you're wanting to take that out
ARPA
of?
funds, yes, sir.
ARPA fund. And can we take those out of, can we take it whatever's left of the restricted, that once we kind of move the money, and then, is that okay with the
That's-
board to put
yeah.
it, kind of get rid of that restricted fund, and then whatever's left that we need to take out of the lost revenue?
So I sit on Fire Commission. This has been something we have talked about numerous times throughout this. Bryce has come many times. I hear from every one of the fire chiefs of how they're out on a call, they can't communicate, they're static, dispatches calling back in, to repeat because they can't hear. So this is, and they keep, the main thing that they keep saying is this is going to end up into a bad situation if we don't get this corrected. Some of the repeaters doesn't work. I know we just approved for Claxton to fix their repeater because they were having some of the same issues, but there's not coverage in some parts of the county. That affects our EMS, that affects our fire department, so they have a really hard time. And if, Lord help, if some disaster really happens to our area, we're gonna run into a situation where these people who we rely on to help us and guide us and help our community is not going to be able to respond to one another, and that could possibly put their lives in danger. It could put our citizens' lives in danger. So this is very important that we get up to the times, more or less, because we're still living on really old equipment, right, Bryce and Nathan, you all know. And so we need to get our first responders up to date with all this equipment, and that's going to last this next generation coming in and get them up to it. And I know Fire Commission, we just passed a motion there to support this. All the fire chiefs agreed that we need to move forward, so they're sending a consideration to full commission for us to fund this.
Any other questions or discussion about the motion to approve up to 1.25? Which said
1.25 million. Yeah, and Bryce is here. I don't know if anybody has any questions for him.
So in talking with the rep from E.F. Johnson, who we probably purchased the radios from, they advised us that January 1 there will be a 10% increase. So we may lose out on some radios, depending on what it is, but I don't think it'll be tremendous because we will be getting a quantity discount for how many we are ordering.
And just buying off contract, is this stuff need to be bid, or is it?
This is on. It's on the NASPO contract. I'm pretty sure. Talking with Catherine, it took us a while to find it because we were looking in the wrong spot, but we ended up finding it.
One more thing, Mr. Chairman, if I can, just a little back history too. For years, a lot of agencies in the county and the cities have contracted with an agency in Knoxville for radio maintenance. It has costed the county thousands and thousands of dollars, and just to be fair, I don't know if the service and the maintenance that they're getting, it's equal to what we've paid over time. And we have a lot of people that work in the sheriff's office and that work with Bryce himself and at 911 that really know these radio systems, and having them in-house, I think too, will save this county money in the long term, whether we bring people on or have somebody that's dedicated to this, to working on the radios. But I can tell you, when Sheriff Barker took office, we were paying $40,000 a year on radios that literally hadn't been turned on in 2 years. and they couldn't be operated on, and they had told us that. So I just want, that's another testament to what Bryce and Josh and all these guys at EMA and all the other agencies. It's just we are blessed with some very skilled and talented folks who are going to not just save us money, but are going to save lives for sure.
Did you have a question on the motion, or?
I was just gonna point out that we were talking about which bond money was gonna come out of and so forth. So, in addition to that, at the last commission meeting, I think I reported that we were looking into the possibility of moving some of the highway paving that we did into that more restricted fund. We determined that we can do that.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if this will need a motion or not, but this project and the highway portion that we can move over there will mean we need to move some other projects out. And I don't know if we need a motion for us to kind of maximize the use of both pots of that money or not. That would be the next step.
Yeah, and I would think that whatever, once we move the paving and the balance of this, whatever's left,
Well,
we come out of.
money left.
Yeah, with what left of this, if it's 1.2 and there's 500,000 restricted, the 7 would come out of revenue loss. Is everybody okay with that?
I'm just saying, we have to report by project, and if we can have the flexibility for
Cleaning the
administrative.
books up,
100%.
and we're okay with
So
that?
we would
I would
absolutely-
just say out of 121.
Oh, yeah, these are all.
I would just say that would be the blanket motion, is that
Okay.
you utilize funds out of the 121 code to make this purchase.
But I think the intention is to try to use all the restricted.
Yeah. And,
As with these
just rough
two.
math, it'd be about $968,000 that we would have to move out of the restricted into the revenue loss. So, but that, we'll have that reflected on the next report.
Everybody okay with that? Okay. Any more discussion or questions before we go to vote? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Okay. Next item is the Scarborough 85 project. Commissioner Wells?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask Mr. John Spratland to come up and possibly give us a brief statement, answer any questions. But this is something we discussed last month at budget. It was brought up. The appropriate channel was to push it through the nonprofit committee. I'm proud to say we met a couple days ago. Chairman Yeager led the meeting. A motion was passed to recommend to the budget committee that we look at funding for this project. It was a clean motion just to get a positive set on the floor. A second motion was made and passed to budget, requesting budget committee appropriating up to $125,000 for the project, and that also passed. So I guess introducing Mr. Spratland, you all have seen the slideshow they did back in the summertime. We've talked about this a little bit at length, but I do want to give John credit. Born and raised Oak Ridger. He is one of the lifebloods of our community of District 6. I'm so proud. This is the all-time winningest coach in Robertsville Middle School basketball history, and I'm telling you that I'm saying that just to brag on him as a man, but his commitment to our community and to our kids. And he's also worked his way up from a student at Oak Ridge Schools to now the athletic director for Robertsville. So I want to commend him, but to give that evidence and testimony on who the man he is and the fact that he's dedicating his time to help make this project happen, I give it my full support without any question. So, Mr. Sprout.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here. But basically, to keep it short and sum it up, we have one. First of all, thank you for what you've done with the Clinton 12 and getting them their rightful place in civil rights history. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the other half of the county, Oak Ridge, has not gotten their just due. And part of this monument is to bring the whole county to civil rights prominence, where we are solidified as a county by bringing Oak Ridge, which was relatively unknown still to this day. So our mission of the Monument Committee is to preserve, educate, heal, and unify. And this is what this monument will do for the county. It will bring tourism down, but it also solidifies us as a county to have two schools with such impactful civil rights history, but yet one is relatively highly known, Clinton 12, and the other one is still being educated. Even though it happened 68 years ago, we still having to bring people up to date on what happened in the county of Oak Ridge, in the county of Anderson County, in the city of Oak Ridge. So to make a long story short, we're here to ask for support in this effort, and I'm here to answer any questions, but mainly thank you for the opportunity, and let's solidify Anderson County. Anderson County has always been a game changer, and this monument will be a game changer also. So this basically is an investment in the future to solidify the county in civil rights history.
Any questions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approved for a recommendation to County Commission to approve $125,000 towards this monument and this interactive project.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wells makes a motion to approve $125,000 for this project, and then Commissioner Smallridge has a second. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, sir. I guess I should clarify my recommendation also that it comes out of tourism, since it will directly affect the economic impact of our tourism in Anderson County.
Are you okay with that second? Yes. Okay. Commissioner Mays?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support this initiative. I mean, I think last month we voted on this a couple times. I would ask maybe if anybody would entertain an amendment to 100,000, and the reason I say that is to be fair and to be equal. I know when we asked about the Clinton 12 donation that we gave, I think it was in 2005 or 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, but when you look at inflationary cost and then some of the other expenditures that we gave the city of Clinton, it came out just around $99,000 of today's dollars. That was my motion last month. I would like to, maybe I hate to even amend it, but I think I would like to stay with my original motion of $100,000. And that, and if you vote it down, I understand, but.
Do I have a motion to amend?
Yeah.
We have a second? I'll second it. Any questions or discussion on the amendment for $100,000 out of the same fund?
Same fund.
The original was 125.
125. And then his amendments to make it 100,000, which was the discussion we had last month. Any discussion on the 100,000 or on the amendment? I thought I saw a hand a minute ago. You can come, purchase.
Thank you very much. I've known John for quite some time, and I have a very, very special relationship with John. Many of you know him as coach, but John was one of my Sunday school students. I actually watched John grow up, as a kid, and taught him some spiritual values. And I am very, very proud to see how John has taken those values from a Sunday school class and put them into his community work. John has always been someone that wanted to bring the community together. This monument will be a great asset to Anderson County across this nation. As you know, Anderson County was one of the first districts to desegregate the schools, and in order to do that, they had to have both whites and blacks together. And that's a very, very important issue. That's something that's deeply ingrained in my heart and with John's Christian values that were taught to him at Oak Valley Baptist Church while I was the Sunday school superintendent. I know and that I do respect the motion, but I think that this is so important because it started in Anderson County that maybe we should sweeten the pot a little bit more. Maybe instead of 125,000, maybe because of what has happened in Anderson County and how we were the first to jump out there and desegregate the school where blacks and whites can work together, play together, play sports together. Maybe we should go to $130,000 just to sweeten that pot a little bit, just to make sure that people know that we were the first county in this nation to really come to grips with making people love and care for one another. And I'm quite sure that Mr. McBride can speak to that issue much more eloquently than I can. But we were the first county, and I would like to see us do a little bit more. The city will do 125,000, but we were the first county, and we should sweeten that pot a little bit more. you know. And so, John, you're doing a fantastic job, and I'm very, very proud of John Spradlin. I don't know him as a coach. My goal was to know him as a brother in Christ.
Yes.
On the discussion for the amendment, to be clear, my original motion of 125,000 was based upon the city of Oak Ridge has stepped up back last February. We have the documentation on file with the finance department and said that they would do a $125,000 match once the Scarborough 85 committee reached 125. Again, reiterating everything everybody said, this was an Anderson County school at the time it happened. I would like to see us, and I'm appreciative of, if we give them $1, I'm appreciative. But I would like to see us step up, match the city, show the city that as a county government, we're not here just to offer a match when you can do it. I want us to show that we believe in you, we believe in everything your people went through, and we want to help. So that was for my original motion. And the last thing I'll say, and this isn't a tit for tat, but it really is a big, when we're talking apples to apples, we're talking Clinton 12 that happened in 1958. We're talking 85 Oak Ridgers that happened in 1955. Oak Ridge black community members played basketball in the Southeast before any other university let them. University of Tennessee didn't let a single black person on the court for over a decade until before Oak Ridge, after Oak Ridge did. So again, I'll be happy with either way, but I'll have to stick with my original motion. Thank you, though.
Any more discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment to change it to 100,000, say aye. Aye. All opposed likewise?
No. Aye.
Can we do a hand vote? All in favor say aye, raise your hand, or say aye, raise your, got 3. All opposed, raise your right hand, or left, I don't care. 4, or amendment fails, back on the original motion of 125,000. Any more questions or discussions on the 125,000? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise? No. Do we need, you got that, or do y'all?
I think Judy was the only.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure, but we can do a hand. Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Any other new or old business come before the motion to adjourn? Meeting adjourned.